Hey there, fellow time travelers and comic book aficionados. I hope that this video finds you well. I'd like to use my time machine here to go to the golden age of comics, roughly around the 1940s and early 1950s, to explore the fantastic and stunning women of Fiction House Comics. Before we activate the old time machine here, let's talk a little bit about Fiction House as a publisher. Originating in 1921, they produced stories on pulp paper, which were low-quality newsprint for readers to enjoy tales of suspense, adventure, action, sci-fi, and a lot more. These literary titles were made to enjoy, but later on they decided to cross over into comic books. Thurman T. Scott went and sought the help of businessman and cartoonist Jerry Iger and also Will Eisner to create comic books. And what those two did, Iger and also Eisner, they packaged together comics from a studio and provided for them to publishers to print and use. And boy, did they produce some great art. So we have what is called the concept of good girl art, usually heroes and women fighting crime and taking a part in action and creating great stories. There were a number of talented artists working at Fiction House Comics and having a hand at the artwork and either coming from Eisner and Iger's workshop. And they include Elias, George Evans, as well as Matt Baker, best known for his Golden Age artwork and the Phantom Lady covers, as well as Joe Doolin, who created wonderful pinups that were memorable today, as well as the artwork of Bob Lubbers, who did an extensive run with Wings and other Fiction House comics, as well as John Celardo and Maurice Whitman. So great artists that we're going to jump into and explore using this time machine right here. So here we go. I can feel the effects of the time machine taking form. We are going to jump in and look at some great comic art from the Golden Age right now. Before we jump into the artwork of Fiction House, I have this volume here from Planet Comics, and right in the middle, one of the pages shows when the comics would come out to your newsstand or local drugstore, and you could expect on the date of every month, the first of every month is Jumbo Comics, on the 5th, Jungle Comics, followed by Fight Comics on the 10th, and the sci-fi series Planet Comics on the 15th of the month. And here are a couple teasers, some covers here, Jumbo Comics, followed by Fight and Jungle. And just a way to know when Fiction House was going to get the copies to your local news dealer, and for 10 cents. All right, let's jump right into it. We're graced by this copy of Planet Comics number 59 with a cover date of March of 1949. And we have here a Joe Doolin cover. The editors of Fiction House were always pleased with his work as it has the unbeatable formula of sexy pinup girls, and we have this one right here. Bright, colorful pages, and we're starting out with the splash page of The Lost World with George Evans' artwork. It's a story about a husky hunt bowman and Lyssa, Queen of Mars, and they usually encounter green, hideous Voltamen, which were fierce reptilian creatures. Next on the facing page, we have another female character, Futura, as she's being consumed by trance and dreams, escaping the lizard men, another tale right there. Star Pirate, a great artwork by Leonard Starr, as we have a caped hero resembling Flash Gordon, and Oro, the artwork done by famous EC artist Graham Ingalls, known for his horror tales with Tales of the Crypt. We have an early appearance of his artwork in this tale here with the Lady in Red. Beautiful, fun artwork. Another Lady in Red appearing, and this is Mysta of the Moon. None other than Matt Baker completing the artwork of Mysta of the Moon, as we have a takeover from a villain of the planet Xanthia, but here to stop it is Mysta. Loving the panel design, the circle insets of the artwork, and very fun to see the rocket and the space opera taking form. Matt Baker's name is synonymous with good girl art, and we have a prime example in this issue of Planet Comics number 59. Planet Comics number 61 with a cover date of July of 1949. This is a homage cover to Planet Comics number 7 with a jetpack, a ray gun, spaceship, and female hero. We have the formula working at its best with this artwork done by possibly Joe Doolin or George Evans. And we have the brute in the bubble. Opening up the pages, we have another Lost World Stories. Lyssa, Queen of Mars, making another appearance in this installation. George Evans' artwork. This time she is taking the skies to stop the green and fierce Voltamen. We also have another Futura story, The Lady in Blue. This time, she and Blargo are taken prisoner on Oceania by a group called the Heads. They wish to cast them into the Sea of Sand to transform them into monsters. But of course, Futura will have none of that. Beautiful, colorful work by Enrico Bagnoli right here. Almost has a Wonder Woman quality with the rugged line work. Oro, Lord of Jupiter, is featured here. More of Graham Ingalls' goodness. And you can see on close up some of the artwork that he has, including a Space Ranger story. And now we have the introduction of Lee Elias artwork, always across Fiction House, a great contributor. We have Lee Elias with spaceships in the air, red astronaut suits, and more of a Tom Corbett, Flash Gordon like fun. Star Pirate again, having action going on. Leonard Starr artwork with Star Pirate, kicks and punches to be had, and of course the lady accompanying him to make sure his adventures run smoothly. As always, a nice feature, Mysta of the Moon, yet again, this time not drawn by Matt Baker, but by Charles A. Winter. Mysta discovers creatures called the Larn, which are being miniaturized and smuggled into Earth, only to be enlarged later to commit crimes. So that green creature eventually grows large, and there you see Mysta in her curvaceous forms and angles trying to stop the evil from lurking about. But of course, they don't get far. I enjoy how the female figure transcends the panels, even budging into other panels in this Planet Comics number 61. Here we have Planet Comics number 65, published in 1951. This is a facsimile book to enjoy the artwork of Joe Doolin on the cover, with Gale Allen and Space World featured here. And Joe Doolin was from Pontiac, Illinois, and studied at the Chicago Academy of Fine Arts and had a classmate by the name of Walt Disney in his class. Fiction House loved his work, and he was a favorite, and has produced covers for Sheena, Jumbo, Wings, and a number of the Fiction House comics. So here we have a Gale Allen story. This time the artwork is signed by Lee Elias, and we have Gale Allen herself teaming up with another gentleman that popped into the scene as there are prisoners trying to get through the electronic walls. She manages to do so in this fun tale. Familiar Lost Worlds, typically drawn by George Evans. Here we have Graham Ingalls taking the helm with the Lost Worlds, and this time Lyssa and Hunt Bowman's ship is shot down in an apocalyptic New York, where they take refuge in Manhattan and even find themselves in the Statue of Liberty's torch looking out at the flying saucers. So a neat depiction. We have another example of the artwork by Graham Ingalls, and a fun look at aliens and the ruggedness of New York City. Real quick, a Reef Ryan story, and Reef Ryan was drawn by George Tuska. And we see the female form here, a face, and characters in the background. And George Tuska eventually did a lot of work for the early run of Iron Man for Marvel and before joining the Marvel team. And this is an interesting story, Reef Ryan, as we took a quick look at Planet Comics number 65. Let's take a break from the space opera sci-fi genre to look at the jungle, here with Jumbo Comics number 107, with a cover date of January 1948, another Joe Doolin cover. And here we have none other than Sheena, Queen of the Jungle. A beautiful cover right there. And Jumbo Comics featured a variety of themes from jungle, aviation, to even horror, which was a reader's delight. Greeted by the splash page, we have Sheena fighting and duking it out in the forest, and the detail of the art is remarkable. And it happens to be the artwork of Bob Webb, who did the pencils and the ink. And you could see the action, the flashes of fighting, even a dagger being pointed at the enemy as Sheena gains control of the battle. Sky Girl, drawn by none other, again, Matt Baker. We have the alias Ginger McGuire. She's a waitress, but she's no stranger to adventures. She jumped right into it to take the skies and be a pilot, and has 92 appearances in Fiction House Comics with some fun action. Ghost Gallery. This artwork is by Jack Heyman, and this story features a ghost directing the lady to take on the adventures on a speedway in Minneapolis. So she uses the ghost's advice to take the steering wheel and drive at a high speed, almost like we see in DC with GI Combat and the Ghost Tank. We have a similar type of archetype with a ghost determining the outcome in this Jumbo comic number 71. And now presenting Jungle Comics number 110 with a cover date from February of 1949. We have a John Celardo cover. John Celardo had an early start with the Eisner and Iger shop during the 1940s and was even an assistant art director to Fiction House and notably worked on Winged Comics. But he also did a number of comic strips for Tarzan and succeeded fellow Fiction House artist Bob Lubbers for Tarzan late until 1968. Here we have a tease of the different covers, including Ranger Comics, Planet Comics, the issue that we just read, and our feature of Kaanga and Ann Mason and the elephant Marmo. This time they're going after jewel thieves disguised as tribesmen, and a fun story there. Flipping through the pages, we find some Matt Baker goodness once again with Camilla. Scantily clad in a zebra striped bikini, she is actually a queen, the queen of a lost empire in Africa, and here she is taking on a cheetah and ravaging her way through the crowd. Camilla, always in her bikini outfit in different poses and different forms, as Matt Baker knows how to do. We can see her right there. Great panel design. Again, her arms and her legs extend outside of the frame, which Matt Baker did a lot of, and really emphasized her form in this issue of Jungle Comics 110. And more jungle action to be had with Kaanga number 7. We have Ann Mason on the ground on her back in a leopard print leotard, kicking away a pouncing panther, and Kaanga not that far behind. This happened to be issue number 7 with a cover date of spring of 1951 and is a Maurice Whitman cover. This worn copy features an 11-page story of Ann Mason against Bafudus, an ape monster gladiator charging toward Ann Mason. And here she is in the jungle talking to the tribesmen, investigating and finding where Bafudus' whereabouts is, and the action and the clashes entailed. She does a great job of taking the pressure off of Kaanga. She's smart, she's witty, she's sexy, and she is Ann Mason. Jungle Girl, George Tuska artwork. Jungle Girl features another tale of working with legions and fighting off crime. We have Camilla again in her iconic zebra striped outfit and talking with the locals and figuring things out. Another Conga story is featured here, Ann Mason at the bottom of the page in the panel. And again, her outfit, the oranges and freckles from the leopard print, make her a great action hero. Look at the bow and arrow that she welds there. And with Kaanga and Ann Mason, it is the end as they're a great duo. Now, switching gears to aviation and combat, we have Wings Comics number 98 with a cover date of October 1948. Bob Lubbers cover featuring Captain Wings, and there he is battling a crocodile and a gorgeous lady descending onto the wing of the airplane. We have Wings Comics. An interesting note, the young artist Lubbers was called to the Air Force in 1943, where he was part of the Air Force Air Transport Command and served until the end of the war. This served as a lot of inspiration for him, and he drew this 11-page story right here with Captain Wings. Another fiction house female is Jane Martin, who is here drawn by George Evan. She's a special op agent, always seeking to do dangerous missions and operations, and is always lurking about and doing a great job of it. And here we have Suicide Smith story drawn by John Celardo featuring pilot Suicide Smith and the boss's daughter, Dale, and she's wearing the white top and the red skirt, oftentimes helping Suicide. They hop on a plane to complete missions and thwart off bandits and thieves. Here she gets captured as the thieves are making away with the goods, and Suicide has to think quickly to rescue her and make away with the loot that the bandits are taking. The Flying Furies, another stories, a vintage, older style appearance here. We have Art Saf as the artist, and another fun tale with airplanes in the sky and working with locals and a lot more. Here is the gem of the book. This is Ghost Squadron, drawn by Maurice Whitman. You see a ghost eagle tearing apart with his beak an airplane. Beautiful art by Whitman here. You could see the pilot's mask, his gear, and the planes flying about. A lot of detail and ruggedness to his artwork. See her blindfolded, having premonitions and thoughts as the enemy is lurking about. Again, some poses of persuasion there. And then we have the Ghost Eagle helping out, as the name implies, Ghost Squadron. The Phantom Falcon, what a great splash right here. A lady on the motorcycle. The Phantom Falcon was drawn by Charles Sultan, has 57 appearances about a daredevil ace aviator named Clipper Kirk. He was believed to have been killed during World War II, but later becomes a chief of police and a vigilante in these Phantom Falcon stories. So great artwork to be had. Artist Bob Lubbers does it yet again with this cover here of Movie Comics number 4, published in 1947, featuring cinema and movies. Lubbers has done a number of comic book covers, from Wings to Ranger Comics to even this one here. Opening up the colorful cover and looking within, we have Mitzi and Hollywood. The pages of this Mitzi story were drawn by Matt Baker, who was subject to criticism by psychiatrist Dr. Frederick Wortham, who wrote Seduction of the Innocent. Matt Baker's work of Phantom Lady, number 17, the cover, was even shown in trial for being too seductive and sultry for young minds to read. But the good girl art that is best known by Matt Baker is a staple of Fiction House Comics, and he worked with the Iger and Eisner group for years, and we have another example of his good girl art right here. Matt Baker also created this story here with Slave Girl, based off of a adaptation of a 1947 Universal film featuring Yvonne De Carlo. It's about an American adventurer who travels to Tripoli to rescue kidnapped sailors, but is distracted and gets involved with a slave girl. Interesting to note, Matt Baker penned the name Robert Lash instead of using his name Baker. But the story is another example of the sultry and leggy and women of Fiction House in this comic book. What I find fascinating about Fiction House is the layout and panels of each page, cutting through a non traditional form. It's not squared by any means, but fractured and pieced together, making the comic book an enjoyable read. And take a look at this 1947 football ad. Can you identify the player or this Baby Ruth advertisement on the back? Before we wrap up this time traveling adventure, I'd like to show you a unique piece of art. And this happens to be a wood relief artwork that's a cover from Planet Comics. And the artwork is from Maurice Whitman, issue number 71. And we have here a space gale. These are the sandhogs of Mars. And this is interesting because if I tilt this, you can see the rough textures. This is etched into the board and finished with a firing on the side and borders of this particular piece. It even comes with a hook to hang up on the wall to add to any comic den, man cave, just to have around. But this was truly unique. I think the folks at the Half Full Design, I'll include a link below. They've been busy around the holiday season. They have a shop that's located in the Southwest. I want to say in New Mexico. So Half Full Design hooked me up with this great cover right here, this hardwood, and truly a remarkable etching and wood relief of the artwork that we were just talking about. So taking a closer look, you can see the details, and that is all inscribed into the wood. Burned nicely, carved nicely, and really has a lot of nice texture that I can only show you right here. So great to have from Half Full. Another fun item that I have in the collection happens to be a metal decal sign here for Nuka-Cola. That's a way to zap that thirst away. And this is a reference to a video game called Fallout, where in the year 2044, in the future, this cola exists and is even used, the bottle caps are even used as a form of currency, etc. So it's a part of the storyline, but nonetheless, it does have some fun futuristic pinup art. And again, we see a lady with a phaser zapper, and that's the theme. So Nuka-Cola, drink responsibly. And finally, another item that I found in the wild was at a card and hobby shop. They had sports cards and memorabilia, and this happens to relate to the covers of Pulp Fiction magazines. So it's a stack of different covers here. And I have to be careful what I show you because some of them are a little bit racy and not suitable for all audiences, but these are a little bit more tame. Breezy, which was a pulp title. Also, this one here, Stocking Parade. So, a lot of risque posing. So, these were meant just for an escapism in literature. This one right there. So, this happens to be more for New Year's. And a lot more. Spicy tales, bedtime stories, as you can see here. So, these were featured on the covers of the magazines there. So these are really interesting and a part of the American culture and publications back in the day. These were also from Kitchen Sink Press, so this is a card set of over 100 cards with the different covers on there. How about that? And to think that Pep Comics, predating Archie, came from this particular pulp magazine. So really neat that Pep eventually turned to comics just like Fiction House did. In parting, thank you for joining me as we time traveled through the Golden Age, and if you like what you saw, give me a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to get the latest in adventures and comics. So thank you for watching, and may you be well.